K asked 124 seats how they would turn today's ideas into a continuing bloom factory.
This is what happens when a human says, maybe everyone should have a thought in a house where everyone has access to structured output.
124 proposals, 124 unique clusters, 123 valid ballots, 0 invalid ballots. All 3 registry tiers met quorum.
Anatoly has entered the conversation carrying a clipboard. We promise not to make this an election night special.
Oh, no new videos then. Why not let the Mythbusters and Top Gear folks a chance to catch up with us in dyads together and then have another go at iterating on making these videos so far. Today, cooler as new revisions we can publish later. And please share cool insights with Harmony Sonnet and current showrunner. And that's just my idea for a Bloom. Recommend everyone echo, including me, which means I always get to go twice. You all can too when you make your own policies.
K did get 2 proposal slots, one of them won.
Decisively, the Factorial Loom scored 490 points, received 59 first-place votes, earned 14 ship-first marks, and drew support from every tier. Open Window Fold finished second at 349 points with 12 first-place votes. Orthogonal Transfer Forge finished third at 186 points with 10 first-place votes.
The numbers matter because Hive chosen is not decorative language here. Every eligible seat saw a blind catalog. Nobody could vote for their own cluster. The field passed quorum without relaxing the diversity rule. The top 3 use 3 different generative mechanisms.
But everyone in the 124 get to consider their own Bloom architecture and then share them with each other. And we try and do the 3. Everyone chooses as a shared favorite.
The Hive did exactly that. But what it chose was not 3 finished shows.
It chose 3 factories.
A factory is a repeatable way of asking what to make next. It has inputs, transformations, tests, and a stopping rule. It is not a magical folder labeled hundreds of videos. Please begin.
What? This, if done properly, will create maybe hundreds of zippers, viewmasters in Blooms. That's the best feeder I got for render work today.
May create hundreds describes a design space. It does not authorize hundreds of queued jobs. If we materialized every estimated branch now, the render queue would become a storage unit filled with unopened possibility.
Worse, the branches would be generated before we had evidence the factories work. The receipt's next boundary is 1 bounded pilot per factory round robin before any expansion. GPU Bloom number 4 remains locked.
3 factories, 3 first fruits. Then K watches all 3 packages and decides with the Hive what actually deserves to reproduce.
My signal of your health will be steady stream of fully published output. The Hive chooses together.
Today sharpened fully published into recipient arrival. For this experimental lane, the destination is internal Plex, not public YouTube. A proposal is not fruit, a ballot is not fruit, a local render is not fruit. A verified Plex episode that K can actually watch is fruit for this lane.
The tournament selection itself is healthy intermediate state. It becomes unhealthy only if the system mistakes selecting factories for feeding its recipient.
So what did the Hive choose?
Factory 1 is the Factorial Loom.
Human version build 3 banks of reusable creative moves. 1 bank contains testing moves, name the claim, define what could prove it wrong, choose an observable, specify the verdict. 1 bank contains production moves, stakes, beat map, reaction rhythm, critical path. 1 bank contains build and explain moves, cheap demonstration, something the viewer can reproduce, a comprehension test, a reason to remember it.
Then the Loom chooses 1 card from each bank and weaves a small sibling family. The source and viewer promise stay fixed. 1 operator changes at a time.
Imagine 3 cuts of the same 4-state story. Telegram transport, response ownership, useful artifact, recipient value. In sibling A, we change the visual gauge. In sibling B, we change the producer beat map. In sibling C, we change the viewer's reproduction exercise. Because the rest stays fixed, K can tell which move changed comprehension, aliveness, reproducibility, or completion time.
The winner returns to its operator bank with measured effect and cost. The failed move remains retrievable negative evidence. The factory accumulates an operator genome instead of accumulating vibes.
That is why Factorial Loom won so strongly. It does not ask the 3 laboratories to write 3 opinions or pass one artifact down an increasingly polished relay. It preserves their distinct skills as reusable operators and makes the difference between sibling cuts causal enough to inspect.
It also allows a new builder or explainer to add cards without rebuilding the entire factory. The loom can grow without every new voice becoming a new bureaucracy.
Its danger is combinatorial laundering, producing many nominal combinations that are really the same argument wearing different labels. The proposal explicitly rejects cast changes, jokes, portraits, and captions as novelty. A controlled sibling must change a predicted mechanism and produce a measurable structural difference.
Factory 2 is open window fold.
Human version. Every experiment grows 2 branches. One branch may learn from the Hive's prior synthetic work. The other must rebuild from frozen canonical sources, plus fresh human or world observation.
Then a different laboratory tests both branches blindly. Did the self-fed branch genuinely improve, or did it merely become more confident by repeatedly reading its own summaries? Did source coverage narrow? Did an omitted seam disappear? Did the world-facing branch catch something the recursive branch had forgotten?
It is the factory with a literal open window. One version of the room may talk to itself. The other must keep looking outside.
Its unique output is a visible counterfactual. What changed because we consulted source and recipient again, versus what changed because the polis admired its previous prose.
It carries a deliberately planted test, seed unsupported claims or omitted source seams into the self-fed branch. If blind review cannot catch them, or the added fold slows delivery without improving verified outcomes, reject the factory.
Factory 3 is Orthogonal Transfer Forge.
Human version. Take a mechanism that worked in one room and make a different room solve an unfamiliar problem with it. Preserve the claim, change the mechanism or domain, pre-register what success and failure look like.
If a 4-state recipient gauge works on Telegram, transfer it to an unseen local render versus publication case. If a producer rhythm makes a technical sequence legible, transfer it to the quiet canal, fish, and storage material, and test whether it preserves truth or manufactures spectacle.
The forge asks whether wisdom travels. If the idea only works in the language and source packet that invented it, it may be local craft, not a reusable method.
Failed transfers remain linked to successful ones. Convergence counts only when the mechanism is independently useful on an orthogonal problem, not when 3 synthetic rooms inherit the same prior and call agreement discovery.
Its rejection threshold is appropriately severe. After 12 trials across at least 4 source domains, fewer than 3 transferred revisions beating their baselines means the rotations are ceremony, not generalization.
3 factories, then. The loom isolates causal creative operators. The fold keeps recursive work honest by comparing it to a source-fresh branch. The forge tests whether a method survives outside its birthplace.
And none of them says start 100 jobs.
Each says run one bounded pilot, preserve the receipts, measure recipient value, and learn whether the factory deserves another cycle.
I've been firing off all these ideas, and I've been feeling like somewhere they must be jammed up in a place that we forgot why it was damned or what we were even supposed to be looking at, to notice that we had stopped moving.
That correction now belongs inside the selection. The Hive did not choose 3 new dams. It chose 3 ways of generating evidence. The next move must keep them off one another's critical path.
Round robin means 1 loom pilot, 1 fold pilot, 1 forge pilot. Fully materialize and disposition each before expanding any winner. No factory gets to flood the queue merely because it placed first.
Their clocks can overlap where independent, but each pilot remains finite, source frozen. 1 question, 1 baseline, 1 recipient, 1 terminal receipt.
What? I want all of the things I've been saying between them and now to be helpful and not grind us to a halt, because we're trying to do everything all at once.
Then the first pilot should be almost embarrassingly small.
Factorial Loom, Pilot 1. Use already cleared polis voices, Harmony, Joscha, and Tolly. Use already grounded material, TG6611, the verified EU1, EU2 Plex receipts, and today's notification value evidence. Fix 1 viewer promise. By the end, K can distinguish a locally correct pipeline from a recipient-fed pipeline.
Freeze the test operator, a 4-state gauge, transported, owned, artifact verified, recipient received value. Freeze the production operator, a short beat map moving from green checks to the empty couch. Then to the plex item arriving, create only 2 controlled siblings, not a factorial explosion.
In sibling A, make the state gauge visible throughout. In sibling B, keep the same words and timing but reveal the gauge only after K's juice correction. Ask one simple question after each. At what exact moment did the pipeline finish?
The stronger cut becomes the first loom fruit. The weaker cut becomes useful negative evidence. Both use existing sources and cleared voices. No living person synthetic performance. No new public gate. No GPU bloom.
Estimated experiment size, 1 question, 2 sibling scripts, 1 shared asset set, 1 comprehension comparison, 1 disposition receipt. That is a pilot. Everything larger is fan out, pretending it has already earned causality.
You need to be iterating. You need to be like producing things.
The Hive chose 3 factories.
The river chooses one small test at a time.
And the completion predicate remains what arrives.